Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We here with week 7. Hey, this season is flying by. We had an exciting weekend last weekend, a lot of upsets, a lot of big time matchups that we didn't think were going to turn into big time matchups. And now we're moving on to see how some of these teams turn the page to move forward. We want to hop straight into this first one. It's noon game. We got South Carolina traveling to Alabama. Um, this game is interesting with two fronts. These are two teams that are coming off of losses, ready to get back on the field to kind of get back into the flow of the season. Bama being at home, I think is big. They got to get there. I don't even want to say too much confidence because you look at that game last week, and albeit I think it's more of an ego bruise than it is a concern because you still put up the points you needed to put up. You still have had no drop offensively. It just seems like in that game you had a lot to look at defensively of what some issues may be. You look at the run defense was what a lot of people have been pointing out. It just seems like it's very, I don't want to say stagnant, but has some holes that can be shored up. And the same thing in the back. I know Sean, you hit on it last time we got on the live to review it, how they always have one safety back. And a lot of people that's been online analyzing Bama's defense has been pointing out like they give a lot of tells as to what they're trying to do back there. South Carolina's coming into this one with their loss. Theirs was more the alarming kind because you had a very you had great momentum coming into the not coming into the season, but once the season started. I think coming into the season, a lot of people look at this team, said 5, 6 wins. You're showing out to be that. I think they can turn it around. But the thing with South Carolina is that you took off on such a high trajectory when the season started from where people expected you to be with your win versus Kentucky at Kentucky being on the road, which has been Shane Beamer's issue with SEC teams is that he can't coach and play on the road, and then you come home, put up a great dogfight against LSU, where if you had Lenore Sellers in for the full game, you probably come out with that win, and then you still build on that offensive momentum against Akron, and then now you kind of fall just flat, one of those fall on your face, trip on your feet type of games where everything goes wrong. Everything that can goes wrong does go wrong, um, does in that Ole Miss game. I'm looking at this game, and for me, I got to go with Bama. Bama is a 3 touchdown favorite. The line hasn't moved since the beginning of the week. I think it's just too much. For Bama has been coming into these games, they're scoring over 35 points every game easily. Their offense is still good. They're still rolling. They're still doing what they need to do. South Carolina, their defense is playing great. They're the number 7 pass defense in the country right now. You got your one of the best D lines you've had in years. But if your offense can't score, that defense relies heavily on being able to take a break. Ole Miss, you get into the second half, and albeit Ole Miss never scored a touchdown in the second half. They only got a field goal. They turned it around. The defense did what they needed to do against a high-powered offense in Ole Miss. But at some point, you got to give your defense a break. They're out there every couple of minutes because your offense can't stay on the field and extend drives, even though you go over halfway, and even though the fake injuries and everything with Ole Miss going on is just I don't know which offense is going to show up. I don't know if it's the LSU offense. I don't know if it's the Kentucky offense. I don't know if it's going to be the Ole Miss offense. So only thing I can go off of is what I saw last, which is Ole Miss. You can't walk into this game and expect to compete and not be able to score any touchdowns in this kind of ball game. So I got Bama winning it as much as I want to say South Carolina, but this is a road game, which is Shane Beamer's weakness. We've only been on the road once, which is to Kentucky. Um, it's going to be a good crowd. Bama's going to be back ready to play. A lot of the things you're hearing from the team and from the coaches is like, hey, we took care of what we needed to take care of. We went back to basics. We shored everything up, and they're ready to play on Saturday. I don't know if this defense travels, offense has to show up, and I don't think the offense can. So going Bama in this one.
Got you. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Bama's gonna be able to walk away with this one pretty easily. And I think the things that do concern me about Bama Van are just some of the things that we just gotta fix on defense. I think that if this was maybe 2 weeks ago or last week or a couple weeks ago, I would have been a different believability when it comes to what Bama can fix and can't fix. But I think at this point in the season, we know who teams are. And Bama, you've got to either this is your last chance to prove if you are a guy defensive team or not. Because looking back at Bama's history, I've seen Bama teams before that haven't really fixed that defense until very late in the season, if ever getting it fixed in big games. And I think the teams that we can fix it against are the teams like South Carolina, are the teams that we have the upper advantage against, excluding Vandy, just because I think we let Vandy slip up and come in there and punch us in the face in a way that we never would expect. And I don't think anybody could have ever predicted that game right there to happen. And I think that's what really that one-time opportunity for Vandy took advantage of it. So for me, for the rest of the season for Bama, I think we got one more chance to prove that you fix the defense. And the offense to me has been just continuing on the projection that it's going to continue on. I think they're going to continue to put up points in this game. So I got Bama putting up at least 38 to 40 points like they've been doing all season. But I got a defense holding strong in this one, giving up less than 21 points to South Carolina. So I think I got South Carolina getting around 17 to 14 points in this game. But I think it's gonna be close. I think when you really look at the where the game's gonna be won at, it's really just one big question for me. Can Alabama's offensive line continue to hold up against South Carolina's defensive line? I think that's the only thing that can really throw off Bama's offense. And of course, the defense just has to be more disciplined. Just has to be able to read your keys. You have to be able to just be able to play smash mouth football. So I think that's what South Carolina's gonna really bring to this game is really try to run the ball heavy early and try to do a lot of misdirection, a lot of motion, kind of like Vandy did to get the eyes of South Alabama's defense to be more disciplined, to see if they are more disciplined. So I got Bama winning this one relatively easy, but I think early in the game is going to be key on how efficient or how clean DeBoer is going to have this team. So we're going to see Bama up big.
So who in the world said that a 3-3-5 and a 4-2-5 was going to work in the SEC? They run the ball in the SEC. The football gets run in the SEC. I think Bama's problem, they're definitely on defense, but it's scheme. It's not effort, it's scheme. We lined up against a Vanderbilt team that you watch them on film, you know what they do, right? You know what they do, but you still come out in this 3-3-5 and this 4-2-5. You need backers. You need to be able to plug these holes. You know what I'm saying? And the scheme is not there to plug the hole. So what I want to see is more 4-down linemen. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back to more of a, like you said, Drew, more of a traditional defense. I understand that your secondary is young, and I understand they're trying to kind of protect the secondary, but what you can't allow to happen is you can't allow yourself to stay on the field on third down, because that ultimately ends up just ripping the entire game plan up altogether because the defense can't get off the field, right? So one thing I will say, if South Carolina and their staff is decent at watching film, right now, if you want to get you a cheap one, right now is the time to do it because there is a chance that Bama may be in between schemes here. And you may be able to keep this close for a little while. I do agree with you, Van. If Sellers was in the game, I would have a little more confidence in them in Carolina to be able to take this game not deep into the second half, but at least into the third quarter. With him not being there, I don't think they really have a chance. Bama's at home looking for something to prove. But Bama's defense is regressing, and this is the game that you need to try to fix it. But again, it starts with the scheme. If we see them come out in the same scheme they've been in this whole year, thinking that the kids just have to execute it better, it's not going to work. There's no way in the world 3-down linemen beat 5 offensive linemen in the SEC with these talented backs that we're going to see. It's not going to happen. The scheme has to change. But I do have Bama winning this game. I'm not going to sit up here and say really big. I got them up by 14. I'm not going to name a score, but I got Bama by 14.
I hear you. And then Sellers is going to play this game. I still don't believe he's 100%, like we mentioned in the review. Rocket Sanders is the number one identity guy for this team coming into this game. He has to be over 70% healthy. He did not look a lick like he should have played at all versus Ole Miss, and it showed heavily. But yeah, moving on to our next one, another 12 o'clock game. We got Mizzou coming off their huge upset of getting absolutely blown out
Overrated.
Yeah. Of A&M at A&M last week. They're at Massachusetts at UMass this week. This is kind of their lick your wounds and take your frustrations out on a lesser opponent type of game. I think they will do that, but they're in a boat right now that they got to figure out something on defense. I think they walked into this season thinking, yeah, we lost our defensive coordinator to LSU. We should be fine. We're Mizzou. We've arrived. We are, now at the top tier teams in the SEC, and we still got our star quarterback and our star wide receiver, and we should be fine. And it's they're finding out right now in the thick of their schedule that this is not the case at all. So this is one of those games where I think you just gotta go to the drawing board, figure out who are your players that are going to be the most valuable out there week in and week out, before you get back into conference play after this. But they should win this when they're a 27.5 point favorite. They should cover that easily. And get hey, Missouri, get right game for Mizzou. I got Mizzou.
Yeah, I'm right there, which I think Mizzou's going to easily walk away with this one. I think coming out of the game they got in with Texas A&M, they got lost their complete identity. I think this right here is a chance where you just find it again and figure out who you're going to be for the rest of the season. When I really look at Mizzou, I think their toughness is something that is questioned when you go against big teams like a Texas A&M. And what I mean by that is Texas A&M can really match you in talent, if not beat you in talent, all across the board when it comes to a team like Mizzou. So you really have to really understand what you're going to be in that game plan to really beat them. And they just didn't have the correct one. I don't care which way they try to get it done, whether it's short passes, long passes, outside run, inside run. Texas A&M just stopped them all across the board. So really, when you think of a team like UMass, yes, you're going to win this game with your eyes closed, most likely. It'll turn into the double upset of the year if you lose this game right here. Plus, you lose the game to Texas A&M. So don't have that situation come right here. But quarterback, receiver room, I want y'all to get on the same page. I really want y'all to see y'all flourish the way everybody's been predicting y'all flourishing this year. I think that's something that's been really disappointing. And then outside of that, just want to see Mizzou just step up in ways that it needs to dominate. Get off the field on third downs, be able to win the turnover battle, and stay clean when it comes to penalties. Because I think those are things that you can clean up to where this season can still become everything you wanted to become. Maybe not playoffs and national championship hopes, but you can still compete for New Year's Six Bowl or a top, 10 overall matchup in that area. So you got a lot to fight for, and this is a game where you can just get back on track. So I got Mizzou winning big in this one as well.
Yep, Mizzou big here. I don't know a lick about UMass, but Mizzou they can fix some things on offense and defense and special teams. They can clean some stuff up. 3 touchdown win by Mizzou. Very boring.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Hey, it is now time. It's that part of the season. Hey, the Texas State Fair is going on, so that means that you got the Red River rivalry that is set to take place again, Oklahoma and Texas. This game is I don't know what to say about OU. This should be a very, very, very blowout win by Texas. I mentioned to y'all in the review that no Texas head coach out of the last, I think, 5 has a winning record against Oklahoma. I don't see this. I don't see this being a game where Oklahoma keeps this close. I see that Oklahoma's ranked. I see it, but when I watch their film, their O-line does not look good. I think they're still running out their first freshman quarterback in this game right now.
Mhm.
So to me, I got Texas winning this one. Quentin Ewers, I believe, is back for this game. He was cleared last week, but I think he was cleared last week. So going into this one, you should be full strength. Oklahoma's O-line is not good. I think Texas just takes care of business. Kind of like what we saw in week 1 against Michigan. Uh yeah, outside of that outside of that loss to Tennessee, I don't see too much from Oklahoma that gives me a lot of confidence to pick them in this game. I got Texas winning this one big.
Yeah, I'm right there with you as well. I think this game is all about Texas and less about Oklahoma when you think about how this game is really going to shape out. Because if Texas handles their business, meaning if they show up to the game prepared like a Texas team normally would be that we've seen in the past couple of years, I think they're going to dog walk Oklahoma from the jump of this game all the way to the end of it. Now, the only thing that can really slow that down is I think turnovers. I think if they come out there, Quinn Ewers coming out rusty because they say he will start this game, they're going to give him a go to see how that oblique's treating him. I think if he comes out of there rusty, and that gate gets it's a little shaky in the first quarter, that's all the momentum a team like Oklahoma is going to take. But going back to the Tennessee game, Oklahoma has not really shown us anything that really give us any faith or hope in their season turn out to be a good season. Against Auburn, I predicted them to lose that game. And up until three quarters of that game, I thought they was going to lose it. They really showed what their potential could be in that fourth quarter of that Auburn game, but nothing in that game showed that they're going to continue that into this game. And if you ain't figured yourself out by this point, Texas is going to expose you exactly who you really going to be. And I think that's what we're going to see with Oklahoma. I think Tennessee was a glimpse of it, but I don't think Tennessee was as polished in that game as we kind of gave them credit for, which is why that score was a little bit closer than what we really thought it should have been watching that game. This game right here is going to be a lot of the same for Oklahoma, a way that you really can't move the ball on offense. And I think a defense that's going to be overwhelmed with good quarterback skills on the other side of the ball that you just cannot stop going up and down the field. Shark is going to bring a touchdown schematic to this game that I don't think OU is going to be ready for really when it comes to the scheme. So we're going to see this game right here turn out in a big way. So I got Texas in this one, winning by at least 2 touchdowns. I think it can be like the Tennessee game in the aspect where Texas doesn't initiate or get efficient on all their touchdown plays, so they might settle for a couple field goals, but I still got them winning this by a 2 to 3 touchdown lead. So Texas is big in this one. I just don't see Oklahoma's offense being able to have that firepower to stick with it, especially with that freshman quarterback. Still, to me, just a very, very run heavy first quarterback and not the guy you need arm wise to really beat a team like Texas. So Oklahoma not gonna get it done this year. Sharks gonna knock you out the park.
Yeah, I've got Texas with the win, but I'm thinking Oklahoma's going to actually keep this game close for a long while. One, it's a rivalry game. It's a huge rivalry game, and it's played at a neutral site, right? Oklahoma has recently, maybe even last year before last, surprisingly beat Texas. You know what I'm saying? In this game with less, with less firepower than Texas had at that particular point in time. So I'm going to give the rivalry game all of the pageantry that it deserves. Okay, anything can happen in a rivalry game. Let's start there. I'm a believer in Oklahoma's defense. I am a true believer in their defense. If Quinn Ewers, like you said, Drew, comes out and that oblique ain't quite right, he makes a couple of mistakes that turn out to be costly on the scoreboard. I believe that if Oklahoma can sustain enough drives to keep their defense fresh and healthy, I think Oklahoma's got a puncher's chance here. My prediction is Texas by 13. But I really do think the game is close throughout. I think Texas is going to be a little rusty. You're bringing in a quarterback that hasn't played in a few weeks, and the team has been used to you started with Quinn, then you bring Arch in, now you got to go back to Quinn. Timing, you know what I'm saying? They throw different balls. Things are just different, right? This right. I'm just smelling that this game could be a little more intriguing than everyone's giving it credit for. So I do have Texas by 13, but look for a really good football game between these two, as you always get. No different. Great football game, something to watch. I'd watch all 4 quarters of it because it's going to be interesting. But Texas with the win.
Yeah, real quick before we move forward on that, though, my biggest question is if we're in agreement that Quinn Ewers might be starting off a little rusty, if he does start the first half a little rusty, is there a benching Quinn Ewers chant coming through, or is there Arch Manning hype coming through to make him get back in the game, to make things go a little bit smoother?
Man, listen, if Quinn is struggling, you're going to see Arch sooner than you think.
Yeah.
And the reason is they can always spin it as Quinn, this oblique, something wasn't quite right? It ain't got to affect Quinn's ego in the media or whatever the case may be. But he's on a short leash on Saturday. He throws a pick early, and Oklahoma converts that pick into 6 or something like that. They may give him a little more rope than that, but Sark is not gonna let them go down 2 scores without putting Arch in.
I agree. And then looking at this history of this rivalry, out of the last 10 times, Texas has only won 3. So, I mean, hey, this is a game, neutral site. There's no clear advantage fan wise. It's gonna be split right down the middle. They always show up to this game. I was in this environment. What was that? 2 years ago, living in Dallas, being at the fair and seeing that stadium in person. It's a sight to see. So all you need is one momentum play in that stadium because it becomes your home crowd real easy. But yeah, so moving on, we got a 4:15 game. Georgia at home taking on Mississippi State. Georgia is a 33-point favorite in this game. I expect them to roll fairly easy, especially with Mississippi State being without their starting quarterback. They since that's happened, they've just fell flat on their face. Even though you're coming off the bye. I don't see any electricity in this Mississippi State team at all since that's happened. But never say never, especially with Georgia's slow starts. Will it rear its head again in this football game? You did it against Auburn and pulled it out late. Not late, but in the second half, kind of got things going to get your 31-13 win. But if something's got to change with Georgia. Something has to change. You cannot go the rest of the season starting first halves of football like you are. Something has got to change because sooner or later something's going to happen. Another situation's going to happen like what happened with Bama, and you ain't going to be able to build yourself back into it. It's going to turn into another loss, and you cannot afford another loss, especially if it comes to a bad team this season when it comes to Georgia. But Georgia wins this one. I want to see from start to finish a complete football game against a SEC opponent. Is sitting in your lap. Go take it. Georgia wins this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you as well. I think Georgia understands it's got to fix this game when it comes to starting slow, and I think this is the chance that they're gonna really show up before a big time opponent comes in next week. So I think that one thing can be true in the aspect that Georgia's gonna take Mississippi State very, very serious and just dog walk them from the beginning, like I know they should. But at the same time, the second thing can be true in we've seen teams overlook the smaller opponent, kind of peeking to what's coming in the future already this season enough. Now, Georgia is a team that I think has a recipe to have that happen. Like you said, man, if they start too slow, I don't care who you are. If you start too slow in this league and the team gets the right type of league, they have the talent around just in certain spots to be able to keep that throughout the whole game to make it tough for you and your team. So to me, I think Georgia's keys has got to be getting better at using the tools we have in the shed. The shed might not be as full as it used to be, but we got a couple tools in there that we really can use to win games and win beat football teams. So I think Georgia is really just trying to master what they already have. Because to me, that's what Kirby Smart is going to be able to be this season to truly win. Just say we're better at being ourselves than you are. We're a cleaner version of ourselves than you are. We don't turn the ball over like your team does. And I think that's Georgia's recipe right there to win big games this year. And I think it has to really get proven this week. No other slip up moments for Georgia outside of this week right here. So take care of business, be the bigger dog, win the game big. I think it's gonna happen pretty, really early. Maybe middle of second quarter, they're gonna have this game by 3 touchdowns. I think it's gonna be over by that point.
Yeah, man. Georgia will win this game and they'll win it big. But Georgia's got problems, man, and Georgia's got a different set of problems. I think that when a kid arrested a couple days ago, I mean the jailhouse there in whatever county in Athens, man, they just full of bulldogs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if Kirby Smart. Let me say this: for Kirby Smart to come from the Nick Saban tree. I'm not sitting up here saying Nick Saban never recruited a kid that had bad character. But if you want to call yourself from the Nick Saban tree, we talk about all of the tree and recruiting high character kids is a part of the Nick Saban tree. I think Kirby's missed on that. He part of the problem, the reason why he lost to Alabama, injuries was the part of there. But he's got kids that are kicked off the team that was supposed to be contributors from the summer. We just had somebody arrested just this past week. I don't know if Kirby is pressing too hard because he feels Sark. He felt the pressure of losing to DeBoer 2 weeks ago. Kirby is supposed to have a legacy in the SEC as a coach. He's supposed to have a fine legacy, and he's got one right now. He's got 2 chips. I just don't know whether there's another one in the cards for him. You know what I'm saying? But Dabo got 2, right? Dabo and Clemson got 2. And he was supposed to be, maybe that next one that rattles off 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, like Nick. And he's completely absentee right now. So I'm not saying that Kirby is going to end up, like that. I'm not saying he's going to lose this game. But what I am saying is I think Kirby is pressing right now on the recruiting trail. I think he's pressing, trying to get the most talent that he can get, but he's not realizing that this talent ends up sometimes in jail, behind bars, and you can't use them. What good is a 5-star if they can't play? So this game's not going to be a problem. But I'm curious. I'm interested to see how the rest of this season works out for Kirby, because his schedule's not going to get a whole lot easier after this game. And if he don't make the playoff this year, I'm not predicting it, but I'm saying it's possible that he don't make the playoff this year. I'm curious as to what happens to Georgia from that point moving forward. So, and I'll also tell you, just listening to Sports Talk Radio here in the Deep South, y'all probably hear it too. People are having the same kind of conversation about Kirby. The fans are. Now, granted, they're fans or whatever, but we're not talking about Kirby in the same way they were talking about Kirby 2 years ago. The tune is kind of changing a little bit, and I think he's feeling a lot of pressure from so many different directions, and it's not just in the locker room. We'll continue to monitor this, but Georgia big in this game, but keep your eyes on Georgia.
I hear you. Okay, so how we moving on to our next game. It is Tennessee at home taking on Florida. Tennessee is also another one of these teams that's coming off of a loss. You lost on the road to Arkansas. I didn't see that one coming at all, even though we had hinted to what a lot of people say could have been Arkansas's record up until that point. But Tennessee, I feel like they're going to get their ball rolling again. This is the perfect opponent to come to play against. It's a night game, 7 o'clock. You're only a 15-point favorite, which that surprises me. And I think that has more such to do with how Tennessee has looked as late, not as explosive as they have been in the past. But moving on to the bigger story here, and I think it's Florida. And this is the run of they've had their 3 wins. They're 3-2. They're sitting in a good spot right now, record-wise, but this is where the fall starts to happen. This is where the wheels come off. This is where everything starts to go. You look at this schedule. You've got at Tennessee. You've got Kentucky next. Then you got Georgia. Then you got Texas. Then you got LSU. Then you got Ole Miss. You don't catch a break until Florida State. And even that Florida State team, you're at Florida State. So who knows what you're looking at that part of this point of the season. So I think it has a lot more to do with that. Who's going to start a quarterback? Are you going with Graham Mertz, or are you going DJ Lagway? What is this team going to look like? I think Tennessee is angry at what happened. Their last performance was, and I think they'll come into this one with a lot of fire under their butts. I think this will be one of those games like what they had against NC State, where they're just pouring on points after points after points, onside kicks randomly in the third quarter when you're already up 3 scores, that type of thing. I think they're out to embarrass somebody, to take the eyes off how they looked last week against Arkansas. So give me Tennessee big, way more than the 15 that's over. I got them winning by maybe 4 touchdowns in this ball game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, to me, Florida is just a team that just does not have enough for a team to win this game right here. And I think that's going to be a very, very common theme for the rest of the season for Florida. So I don't think this is going to change anything this weekend. I think Tennessee's really just going to focus on who they are. I think that Heupel's going to really come in there and challenge his defense. Because I've heard conversations throughout these first couple of weeks about Tennessee really talking about they might have one of the best defenses in the country. And against Arkansas, I just really didn't see that get proven with a lesser opponent. Now held Auburn on, I mean, held Arkansas on lows through that game, but when it mattered the most, the defense folded in a big way. And I'm like, I just feel like that's the biggest part of the whole thing. And then offense, I really just kind of want to see them just be better in certain moments. I thought a lot of things against Arkansas was really good. Run game against Arkansas was really good. The efficiency of the pass and stuff like that, I thought was really decent in that atmosphere right there. So I thought they just ran out of time when it came to Arkansas game. That's why that loss was something more shocking than what it really turned. What I thought it would be before the game. But Florida's not going to be that same scenario. Florida does not have the momentum to go in there and put up quick points and quick touchdowns and even get really quick 3-and-outs. They're just not that type of team to build it. This is Florida's type of team that's really just gonna get ran over by this Tennessee team. And it's gonna be one of those games where when you look at it from a fan standpoint, you love to see Florida and Tennessee match up against each other, but it's not gonna be that hard hitting matchup that everybody really thought it would be. So I got Tennessee getting big. I think I'm right there with you, man. I think they're gonna try to put up 50 plus in this game and really never try to take their foot off the gas pedal because they understand that this is really a tune-up game for what they're gonna see next week. We really got to be our best selves coming out of this game into the next week and not have a big game, have a bye, and then flop. I think that's the bye week kind of messed up a team like Tennessee because they're a rhythm team. They like to go, keep their rhythm fast, keep their rhythm up paced, and keep going. So teams like this are going to take advantage of Florida. And I'm sorry, Florida fans, y'all gonna get taken advantage of for the next 5 to 7 weeks coming. So just buckle down. I've always heard people talk about these Florida Hurricanes coming through, and one of the best things for Florida Hurricanes is hunker down. So Florida, you got a lot of hurricanes coming. You got a lot of bad football coming on top of that as well. So just hunker down. Next season's gonna come sooner than you think. So Tennessee, go Vols.
Yep, I think Tennessee they just gotta just not try to get cute, man. Just play football. You know what I'm saying? You got the talent, you got the quarterback, you got everything you need. Like I said, Sam Pittman, Arkansas, kind of almost Vandy like. They executed what they do best to the best of their ability last week. You know what I'm saying? Against a team that was probably taking them for granted. That's what happened, and Tennessee got caught slipping. That won't happen again. Tennessee will dominate Florida. Now, I don't know who Florida plans on starting at quarterback, but if it's not Graham, then it may be even worse than what I'm even talking about right now. So Florida still has a lot of question marks. They got a lot of things to figure out. If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. Tennessee does have one, and he's a G. So I got Tennessee huge in this game.
All right, and then moving on to our next one. This is probably going to be if you're watching football tomorrow night, this is going to be your warm-up game. And yeah, I said warm-up game to the game that we're going to talk about a little bit later. You got LSU at home taking on Ole Miss. To me, Ole Miss is coming into this as a little over a field goal favorite. I don't see it. I think this is the game that Ole Miss drops, is that second SEC loss, looking them in the face. And I know I picked against them against South Carolina, but that had more so to do with South Carolina than it did Ole Miss. South Carolina was able to hold them to even though they ended up getting 27 points, that second half was not pretty offensive football from Ole Miss. South Carolina was pretty much able to contain them outside of two explosive passing plays, and one of the passing plays, the guy fumbled it through the end zone before he crossed the line. So to this, I think LSU is in a stride right now. They're not blowing out teams, but we've discussed it in a review. I think Drew, you the one that said it. They seem like they found their identity. They know who they want to be. They got their running back down. Quarterback is playing good with Nussberger. Yeah, you get that feeling. This is one of those classics. We see at least one every season of LSU being at home at night under the lights, the fans going crazy, crazy tough environment to go win in. And if Ole Miss can go in here and win this one, I'll be severely impressed, but I do not see them overcoming the crowd. If LSU gets up early, I don't see Ole Miss being able to come back. I think both sides of the ball, LSU will control this ball game. Um, they've got the skilled players on the D line, LSU does, to rattle Jackson Dart. They've got everybody they need on the field to compete with this team. This is a very mono type of game, which is why I think that's where the line is where it's at. But LSU takes this one. I give them, they win by 10. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I do think it'll be a controlled game up into the fourth quarter where LSU is up either a touchdown or up a field goal, and then one of the other will happen late in that ball game to put it away. So I got LSU in this one.
I'm right there with you as well. I got LSU winning this game barely. I got them winning by maybe 1 or 3 points. I got it being extremely close, but I don't think it's going to look that way from the jump now. Because I think when you think of LSU this year, what I've seen from them, I've kind of watched more LSU this year than I normally would early in the season, and they have a tendency of not being as efficient as they need to be early in games. And I think that can get them in trouble in a game like this, and I think it will ultimately get them in trouble in a game like this. Just because when I think of Ole Miss, to me, they are right now the more battle-tested team. I think they put themselves in positions where they got to know what they will need to do from the jump of the game going into Death Valley in the night game. I think Lane Kiffin's going to have a great offensive objective and scheme to beat LSU early in this game. So to me, I think Ole Miss is going to take at least a 2-touchdown lead early in this game. I truly believe that Ole Miss is going to be firing on all cylinders early in this game. And I think if their defense is going to get put in positions where they're going to have to be on the field too much, have to be on the field too long, going into that late second quarter, going in the second half, to where LSU is going to have a momentum to be able to fight back. Because I think ultimately what this game is going to come down to is secondary versus secondary. I think we have two high-power quarterbacks in this game that are going to find ways to expose the defensive secondary. Ole Miss, can you hold your defense to the point where you don't have to get more than 3 to 5 defensive secondary penalties? That is something that's going to be devastating for Ole Miss team and giving LSU momentum in this game. But the same thing with LSU side. To me, LSU secondary is still in question. I think they have moments this season where they let guys behind them, let guys really beat them deep, let guys have momentum and sustain drives on them. Ole Miss is a team that will feast on those moments, and they got guys that will have nightmares against you in Death Valley in a night game. So there's going to be so many factors about this game. I think that big SEC night games have a lot of those factors, like the crowd participation, official participation, and this overall how players react in a moment. So to me, I think Ole Miss is I think they're ready for it. I just don't think they're gonna have enough at the end of the night to sustain what they're gonna bring in Death Valley. So I got LSU winning by really, to me, I think it's gonna be like a 1 point or a field goal win. And I think it's gonna be something that's so close. I think it's gonna be an instant classic type game. And I hope we in for a good one. So I think last week we got some good games. Before that, we got some great games. This right here is set up. This in the Ohio State Oregon game to be one of the best games in the season. And I think we're really just gonna see that. So LSU squeaking it by, and we're gonna keep it moving.
I could not agree with you more. I got LSU winning this game, and the ultimate reason why is because they are at home and it's a night game in Death Valley. I think these teams are evenly matched. I think both of the coaches are trying to find a breakthrough moment. I think that the coach that coaches his team to the least amount of mistakes, meaning penalties and turnovers, ends up ultimately winning the game. Ole Miss is going to move the ball effortlessly from the 20 to the 20. Effortlessly. LSU is going to bend but not break enough to orchestrate a win. LSU will dominate time of possession in this game, and at the end of the day, that's going to be the stat that ultimately wears Ole Miss down. Now, the pressure is on because the loser of this game, I believe you could categorically or even almost mathematically, based on what both teams have left on the schedule, write them out of the 12-team playoff. So the loser of this game, I'm going to go ahead and make a proclamation right now, is out of the 12-team playoff. And for that, these coaches also understand that this win is so important. It's so important because y'all were highly ranked, highly talked about. Everyone's got a chance. But teams, we're in the middle of the season now. We're starting to knock teams off and say, hey, they don't have a chance now. They don't have a chance now. They don't have a chance now. This is one of those games. So, to your point, Drew, this is going to be a huge game for so many reasons. LSU is going to win it because they're at home. It's a night game in Death Valley with a lot at stake, and Lane Kiffin is going to Lane Kiffin it. But I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. LSU, slim margin with you, Drew. I'm with you, Drew. Less than 7 points.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. Hey, what's the over under y'all think for fake injuries for Ole Miss in this game? I got it going at least 8 or 9, and somebody's going down every time LSU gets a first down. It's gonna be big fella, 89 in the middle of the defense. I got him going down at least 4 times, and I got as a team, I got at least the team being at least I give him 8 to 10 defensive only injuries in this football game.
It's so unfortunate that this
I
has
know it.
become a part of the game. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, it's going to happen in this type of game. It's going to happen in this type of game.
Yes.
If they had it with the way they convincingly beat South Carolina and still had moments where it happened in that game right there, I think that in a game with LSU, especially if they get down big or something like that, man, with LSU trying to move fast, people are going to flop on that ground, and I hate to see it for them. But if we got to do it over and under, I'm giving them 6 total. 6 total, nothing over 6. I got them 6 total.
I got 4. Give me 4. I'm being hopeful that way I ain't got to be up till midnight watching this bull jump.
Right.
All right, moving on to our last SEC game. We got Kentucky at home taking on Vandy. Vandy coming off of their huge win over Alabama. Seems like every time you turn on Sports Center, you're seeing somebody just had the quarterback do an interview today, and Johnny Manziel popped on it and all that kind of nonsense. Hey, for a team like this is dangerous. How do you handle success? Is the question the coaches got to be asking the players. How do you handle this moment? You're going into a night game at Kentucky. Kentucky just proved that they were able to beat Ole Miss. Kentucky has kind of slowly and under the radar turned their season around. They're not if you want to call it the same team that had those 2 losses to South Carolina and then to Georgia. They've kind of built on fixing what they needed to fix and getting better and better as the weeks go on. Especially with Kentucky's schedule, they're looking at this game saying, "Hey, we can really get going with Vandy and then at Florida and then Auburn before you have to go up against Tennessee. And then by that time, who knows what you look like?" They have a very favorable schedule left on the table for them. They can really kind of turn this around for Mark Stoops and his team. I think, in my opinion, Vandy comes back down to earth. I think their team was while they had a great win, I think it was just the perfect storm and the perfect recipe for success for them to get that win versus Alabama. I still think they are the Vandy, not the one that we always thought of, but a little bit better, but they're still Vandy at the end of the day. So I got Vandy losing this one. I got Kentucky winning it by 14, 17 points in this ball game.
Yeah, I think it's all about the momentum in the start of this game. I think right now Vandy has all the momentum, to be honest with you, even though Kentucky has been able to come off a big win and have a tight game against Georgia. They really probably do feel great about their season. They probably do feel great about the next stretch of opponents they have. But when you got a team that's high rolling like Vandy, there's only one thing that can really take them off, and that's turnovers and self-inflicted penalties. And the way how efficient they were against Bama, I just really don't see that happening. Now, I do not see Vandy putting up 40. I don't see them beating Kentucky like how they beat Bama, or can see Kentucky playing against them how Kentucky played against Ole Miss. I just don't see those 2 teams showing up to this game right here. I think it's going to be a smash mouth football game, a low scoring SEC football game, and I think the team that just plays a better clean game is the team that's going to win. I think overall Kentucky's offense is better than Vandy's offense, but I just think Vandy has the more strict identity in what they want to get done. So if Vandy has like a start like they did against Bama, I don't see Kentucky being a team that can come back on that. If they go down and get the ball first, go down and have a long extended drive that's going to take some time off the clock. Maybe get a quick 3-and-out or a turnover some type of way and come back down there and put some more points on the board. I think that can really be the momentum that Vandy can take and ride through the rest of this game. And I think that's something like that how it's going to happen. So I got Vandy winning this game by 10 points. And I think they're just going to get a good little lead early in this game to kind of high roll that keep and moving. And I think Kentucky just is going to be who they have known themselves to be. Some team that is just not consistent enough to win games that they should win. So I got Vandy eking by mainly just because Vandy beat us, and I don't want to see y'all lose to a Kentucky team just because everybody's going to be able to say, how did y'all lose to Vandy? So I'm a Vandy fan for the rest of the season. I think they got what it takes. They got a quarterback who's got some swagger, and I actually like him in the way he handles himself and the confidence he goes into each game with. So don't let Kentucky go in there and change things. Let a team like Kentucky be another team you can step up on, make your season look overall better, and continue this high roller for Vandy fans and keep them on a high note. So I got Vandy winning by 10.
Okay, let's understand why Vanderbilt beat Alabama. It's scheme. It was scheme. It's scheme. Alabama, their defensive alignment on their defensive line invited this triple option thing to happen. And why Bama couldn't figure it out, I don't know. But I guarantee I'm going to tell you Mark Stoops is not going to let that happen to him. He's going to line up and he's going to fill gaps, and Vanderbilt is not going to be able to do half of the stuff they were able to do against Alabama. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Vanderbilt. Now, I'm going to give Vanderbilt some credit here. Y'all know how far the stadium is from the Cumberland River? It's a long way. We talk about like 2.5 miles. Them kids took them goalposts out the ground and walked them 2.5 miles down to the Cumberland River and threw them through the goalposts in the river. Okay, I've done some extensive research on this. Every major metropolitan area in the state of Tennessee has a river running through it. Memphis got the Mississippi River going through it. The Cumberland River goes through Nashville. Chattanooga got one. Knoxville got the Tennessee River go through Knoxville. I think Tennessee beat Bama a couple years ago, and they put the goalposts in the river. It must just be something that they do. But I'm gonna give them credit because Vanderbilt went further than anybody else ever has with the goalposts to put them in the river. Okay, that was the last time that ever happened. Vanderbilt won this game last week based on scheme. Mark Stoops is not going to allow it to happen. My prediction is Kentucky dog walks Vanderbilt tomorrow. I'm sorry, this weekend. And everything that we saw last weekend against Alabama will be about scheme because that's exactly what it was. I don't think Vanderbilt has a chance in this game. I got Kentucky. I'm going to give you a score. 34-13 in this game. I'm not saying it was a fluke. It was scheme. You got film now. Everybody knows what they do well, how they like to do it. By Vanderbilt, all 15 fans that y'all needed to take that damn goalpost from the campus all the way to the doggone Cumberland River. Y'all stupid as hell.
Hey, all right. Hey, well, thank y'all for tuning in. Hit that leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the
Wait, Colorado.
We're getting to them next. They're gonna be their own. We gonna get in them. Yeah. They Colorado, like I said, that's the game. I said the LSU game is your prerequisite because that game is late at night. I got something to say about that game. But thank y'all for tuning into this one. Subscribe, comment under this for these SEC matchups. Go over, hit the Colorado video next for this week. And we'll see y'all next time.